The nominees for Best Motion Picture are...
Despite honoring films from 1930 and 1931, the fourth Academy Awards, as of 2020, was the only time when the Oscars were covering multiple years that all the Best Picture nominees came from one year, in this case, 1931. The University of California, Los Angeles Film Archive stores and preserves the only known copy of Eastland. Thankfully, UCLA offers the public by-appointment viewings of its archived films. I set a time and day, made a trip to California, and here we are. I was fully planning on presenting this film with no footage, just photos and promotional material. But somehow there's been an Eastland bootleg popping up around the internet for years, and someone recently posted it on YouTube. It's low quality, it looks much better than this if you watch it at UCLA, and is missing the last 12 or so minutes. Basically, sorry this footage looks like crap, and please support a legitimate release if there ever is one. Anyway, Eastland is based on the 1861 Victorian bestseller of the same name by Ellen Wood, who wrote under Mrs. Henry Wood. Its stage adaptation was immensely popular, and it was brought to the silver screen 5 times prior to 1931. Our film follows a nobleman's daughter, Lady Isabel, played by Anne Harding, who becomes the trophy wife of a stuffy elite, Robert Carlyle, played by Conrad Nagel. While initially a romantic, Robert becomes cold towards Isabel once they return to his estate, Eastland, where his sister, Cornelia, played by Cecilia Loftus, takes an instant dislike to Isabel. Cornelia reacts badly to her new sister-in-law's freewheeling attitude that goes against tradition and custom. Cornelia often supersedes Isabella's wishes, and Robert goes along with it. Isabella slowly dies inside as her hope and joy are taken from her.
We were discussing the forthcoming charity bazaar, the details of which are still more or less chaotic. Suggestions are in order.
The bazaar last year was very dignified. I don't think we could do better than follow the same general line.
Have you any ideas on the subject, Lady Isabel?
Well, I'd like to suggest that make it a little more attractive for the young people. They might enjoy a little gaiety, a dance, a masquerade.
My dear lady, anything of that nature would violate custom and tradition.
But then Captain Levinson, played by Clyde Brooke, enters her life, and she finds romance and happiness again.
Oh, what a glorious night this has been.
Tired?
Tired? Oh, mercy, no, how could I be tired? While I was dancing tonight, very gradually, time turned back.
Dancing in a dream.
Oh, no, it wasn't a dream. I won't have it a dream at all. It was quite real. I'm in London again. It's a warm April night. Gossiping and laughing in the moonlight. Oh, let me see. What am I to do tomorrow? Oh, yes. Luncheon with Lady Townsend. Reception in the afternoon. Lord Trevor. Perhaps I shall see Captain Levison there. The fascinating Captain Levison.
Oh, that's charming. Perfectly charming.
After Levinson escorts Isabel to a ball and returns her home, Cornelia sees Levinson enter Isabel's room. Nothing happens, Isabel insisting that she loves her husband and child, but Robert believes his sister over his wife when she says that Isabel cheated on him.
It's always been her word against mine, her wishes against mine, her orders against mine.
How can you say that? I've never interfered.
You did! You interfered with every move I made, every breath I drew. You drove out my friends. You ruled my house. You've dominated me and my child. You've crushed every impulse, destroyed every bit of romance. You've made my home a prison, till the very air I breathe seems to press down on me and smother me. And you, my husband, stood by passively and said nothing. Because I was your wife, I was supposed to change completely, to become old and drab just as she is. Well, I tried. I did my best. Oh, Robert, can't you see that you're as much to blame for what happened last night as I am?
Isabel is cast out by her husband and most of polite society. Isabel is forbidden to see her young son and must fend for herself and Captain Levinson as her romantic relationship with him starts to crack. The novel was famous for its elaborate implausibility. The 1931 film thankfully eliminated the most ridiculous plot details from the book and makes changes necessary for us to sympathize with our heroine. We end up with a movie that's not nearly as complicated, but is sadly still ludicrous in its improbable melodrama. Present are cliches like a character going blind, and laughable moments like someone falling from a high area in a conveniently tragic, in concept, but laughable in execution, scene. I can look past most of those incidents though, because they only come as the film concludes, and most of the story is plausible enough. I was actually a little surprised by the movie's gripping, unpredictable plot. I had to stay until the end, and I was pleased with the climax, even if it was eye-rolling. Truthfully, what hurts Eastland the most is its acting. It's theatrical and a tad too melodramatic. It's an old style, not uncommon in early talkies, partially due, I'm sure, to so many stage actors being brought over to Hollywood during the late 20s and early 30s to handle dialogue. I just like this old style of acting by and large. Am I the only one who prefers Clyde Brooke silence? And I think it's gone too out of fashion to remain relatable.
Carlyle, I suppose you'll marry again?
Oh, yes, yes. As a matter of fact, his marriage to Barbara has been announced.
Oh,
After all, my dear, Carlyle has the right to marry.
I'm not thinking of Carlyle. I'm thinking of my baby. Don't you see that that woman will take my place in his heart? He'll grow up and never know me. Maybe if I met him later on, I wouldn't even know him. Think of that. No matter what I've done, that isn't fair. Carlyle must know it isn't fair. If he knew how often I wake up with those tiny fingers clinging to mine. And now another woman is to take my place by him. To tend him, be close to him, love him.
That's not to say it's all bad. I enjoy character actress Beryl Mercer and what little screen time she got, and Harding is cute in her scenes with her on-screen son. Seeing as the movie hinges on this relationship, I'm glad Harding works so well in those moments.
And who said we couldn't play bear? Go on, run and hide quick. Hey! Hey! Peekaboo! I see you!
Eastland won't change your life, and I doubt it'll rise to the top of your favorites, but despite its occasional absurdity, it'll draw you in and make you keep watching. It's a good film. If you have time and will be in LA, I say make an appointment to see it. Directed by Louis Milestone, the man behind the previous year's Best Picture winner, All Quiet on the Western Front, the front page is based on a 1928 play of the same name by Ben Hecht and Charles MacArthur. Both have been journalists, and Hecht and MacArthur based some characters on real-life people in the profession. This dark screwball comedy follows a group of Chicago tabloid journalists waiting out all night at Chicago's criminal courts building. They await the hanging of a supposed communist, played by George E. Stone, convicted of the murder of a black policeman. Among the troupe are Hildy Johnson, played by Pat O'Brien, and his editor Walter Burns, played by Adolph Mazer. Hildy wants to marry his girlfriend Peggy Grant, played by Mary Bryan, and move with her to New York and get out of journalism for good. The underhanded Walter doesn't want to lose such a valuable reporter, and he manipulates Hildy to get him to cover the story anyway.
Oh, dear. Marriage does make a respectable citizen out of a man. It must be grand. None of this idiotic jumping around at all hours and having to be on the inside of all the crazy excitement in this town. The 5:15 out to some quiet suburb. A home-cooked dinner every night at exactly 7, and by 10 in bed. Unless, after the tapioca, the wife has a few friends in for a neighborly chat. I don't blame you, Hildy. It sounds great.
Hijinks ensue as Hildy struggles with his love for his fiancée and his addiction to covering thrilling news stories. The other reporters utter wisecracks as they write their stories with little heed to sources and facts.
Earl Williams was just captured in the press room of the criminal courts building, hiding in a desk.
Williams found in a roll top.
Found Williams' hiding place.
Williams put up a desperate struggle, but the police overpowered.
He offered no resistance. They tried to shoot it out with the cops, but his gun wouldn't work, so,
Trying to break through the cordon of police.
Williams was unconscious when they opened the door. Anonymous note received by the sheriff led to Williams' capture. More later.
A well-dressed society woman tipped off the cops. Called you back.
The old sweetheart of Williams double-crossed him.
Following a well-defined trail of blood, the sheriff, Williams gave away his whereabouts when he sent out for food.
The sheriff is now tracing a mysterious phone call that gave away Williams' hiding place.
Meanwhile, Astute Walker, played by Mae Clark, who was a witness for the accused man at his trial, swears the convicted man's innocence. The crooked mayor, played by James Gordon, seeks re-election and is out to hang the accused man. The equally corrupt sheriff, played by Clarence Wilson, helps the mayor in his political scheme.
There's someone in that death house. How do you suppose he feels listening to all this revelry?
I'll let you care how he feels.
We're doing everything possible to
get your whole ticket re-elected next week.
Yes, when Earl Williams drops through that trap tomorrow, it means 1,000,000 votes.
Can we help it if the people rise to support this administration, stand against the Red Menace?
Personified by Mr. Earl Williams, the guy who loses the job he's held for 14 years. joins the parade of the unemployed, and because he's goofy from lack of food, waves a red undershirt.
Williams is a dangerous radical, and he killed a policeman.
Williams is the poor bird who had the tough luck to kill a colored policeman in a town where their colored vote's important.
And
They're hanging Danny Deaver in the morning.
Do you know what I really hate about this movie? The characters. Except for the women, who we barely see, every last person is an immoral, sexist, insensitive, unfunny doo-doo head.
uh-oh, there's a gleam in her eye.
Don't look at me, sweetheart. I never said a word.
Hello, kid. How's the old tomato can? Short, and how are you, Molly?
Been looking for you tramps.
Kid, those are swell roses you sent, Earl. What do you want done with them tomorrow morning?
A lot of wise guys, ain't you?
What do you want in here?
To tell you what I think of you. All of you.
Keep your skirts on.
I wanted them to all die so I didn't have to keep listening to their yammerings. A movie following unlikable people can work. This dark comedy might have if it had been funny, but it features the least funny, fast-paced 1930s dialogue I've ever seen.
Is it true, Mrs. Margolis, that you took the part of Lady Godiva for charity 7 years ago? Hello? She cut off. What, her hair? Tell her I'll be right over. Hey, this looks good. An old lady just phoned the detective bureau and claims Earl Williams is hiding under her piazza.
Tell her to stand up.
I'll admit there are some funny lines.
That jail is reeking with germs. Oh, believe me, the Board of Health is going to hear about the conditions over there through my paper. It's amazing to me that those prisoners can live long enough to get hung. Once and for all, will you hang this person at 5 a.m. instead of 7? It can't hurt you, and we can make the city edition.
Roy, you can't hang a man in his sleep just to please the newspaper.
No, but you can keep postponing the hanging so it'll come just before the election.
Yeah.
Besides a satiric and critical view of journalism, the front page also takes a scathing but still comical look at politics, namely the willingness of politicians to manipulate situations, the public, and the lives of others for their own gain. It's a theme still painfully relevant today. I went into the front page expecting a light, fun, pre-code comedy about journalists. What I got was a miserable, hateful experience that couldn't end soon enough, but instead went on for what seemed like half my life. Skippy is based on the acclaimed comic strip of the same name, written and drawn by Percy Crosby. The strip ran from 1923 to 1945 and was adapted into a novel, a radio show, and of course movies. Comics historian John A. Lynne said of the Crosby strip, the first half-century of the comics spawned many kids' strips, but only one could be elevated to the status of classic, which innovated a number of sophisticated and refined touches used later by Charles Schulz, creator of the Peanuts, and Bill Watterson, creator of Calvin and Hobbes. Comic book artist and Crosby biographer Jerry Robinson, who is probably best known for his work on early Batman comics and for co-creating the Joker, said nothing like Skippy had ever been seen before in the comic strips. It was not just Skippy's expert draftsmanship or remarkable flair, although that artistry earned its creator a reputation as the cartoonist's cartoonist. The brilliance of Skippy was that there was a fantasy with a realistic base. The first kid cartoon with a definable and complex personality grounded in daily life. I was unfamiliar with this strip before watching this film and researching it, so I didn't expect this rarely talked about Best Picture nominee to be based on something so influential. I was actually anticipating a stinker. Thankfully, my expectations were exceeded. Skippy, played by Jackie Cooper in an Oscar-nominated performance that makes him the youngest Best Actor nominee ever at age 9, is a feisty but good-hearted young boy who's always working on a new scheme to get money or to do something fun that his parents don't want him to do.
What do you want with another ice cream cone? I'll let you see my turtle for a nickel.
Don't like turtles.
I'll give you 6 angleworms for a nickel.
Don't like worms.
Them ain't everyday worms neither. Them's dry worms. And you can stretch them just like they use rubber bands.
Don't like rubber bands.
What kind of top is that? This is a genuine walking top. Throw this top right, and it'll walk a quarter of a mile.
Let me see that top.
I'll let you spin it for a while for a nickel.
Well, I gotta try it first.
Let me hold the nickel while you try it.
Like fun, I will.
His current obsession is crossing the tracks into Shantytown, which houses impoverished people. Skippy's strict dad, Herbert Skinner, played by Willard Robinson, doesn't like the area. It's unhygienic and immoral.
Well, for the life of me, I can't see why you like to waste your time in that part of town.
Do you know old Dad Perky?
No.
He's a wonderful man, and he makes the swellest whistles out of willow bushes.
Whistles? And I suppose you put those whistles in your mouth and blow them.
Sure, you blow them.
The number of diseases contractable from placing unclean objects in the mouth is unlimited. Smallpox, typhoid, diphtheria.
Your coffee's getting cold, dear.
There are plenty of nice children in your own neighborhood for you to play with.
Yes, sir.
What would people think of me if I ran around with the garbage collector?
Well, the garbage man's son has got a white goat.
Tell me, Skippy, do you want to grow up to be like the people who live in Shantytown?
Yes, sir.
But Skippy still finds ways to get around his parents' wishes and hang out with his friends old and new. Like Sookie, played by Robert Coogan, a boy who lives in Shantytown and becomes quick friends with Skippy. Skippy tries to stop his father, a prominent area doctor, from ordering the tearing down of Shantytown. Meanwhile, Skippy tries to save Sookie's dog, who doesn't have a license and has been taken by the mean dog catcher, Mr. Nubbins, played by Jack Rube Clifford, who refuses to give the dog back until they come up with the money for a license and to pay for damages he thinks they made to his car. If they don't come up with the money in a few days, Nubbins will shoot the dog. Skippy, a mostly lighthearted comedy, was a breath of fresh air after a series of dramatic films and a dark comedy. Some might find the wholesomeness cheesy, but for me, it was a comfort during dark times. And it's not thickly served sap. It's a healthy amount that takes you back to what feels like simpler times. They weren't, but that's a topic for another day. It's a nice hug you may need on a bad day. I can't say I laughed much at the comedy. Actually, thinking about it now, I can't think of any of the jokes, let alone one that made me laugh, but it's certainly nothing cringeworthy.
Skippy, if Eloise has a poem she'd like to recite, I'm sure we'd all be glad to hear it.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Skinner. To a Dead Doll by Eloise Saunders. Verse 1. I buried my beautiful darling there by the garden wall. And the birds and the roses were there to see me bury my doll. And my little white cat came along with its ribbons so bright and blue. And my little white rabbits were there. And my dog. And my dog.
You said dog.
With eyes of blue.
Ah, that's fine, Eloise.
Oh, that was only the beginning. There's a lot more.
What I found unexpected about Skippy is probably well known to fans of the strip. The movie is largely light escape into the carefree lives of 1930s children, but near the end there's a dramatic turn. A relatable, devastating series of human moments that feel right even after the silly and innocent scenes that came before. It's a fantastic and unique balancing of moods that you get close to in Peanuts. It's a reminder that being a kid isn't all fun and games. That's also heartbreak, and Skippy the movie and the strip capture that perfectly. This one was a real surprise. Based on its relative obscurity, I had no reason to believe this would be a movie that would stick with me, but I will continue to think about Skippy, and I'm definitely checking out the strip now. Trader Horn is based on a book by Alfred Aloysius Horn, nicknamed Trader Horn, who was an ivory trader in Africa in the late 19th century and early 20th. The book covers his adventures through Africa and the animals and natives he met there. The movie follows Trader Horn, played by silent Western star and later talkie character actor Harry Carey Sr., as he travels through Africa with Peru, played by Duncan Ronaldo, a young man whose father knew Trader Horn. And you know, Peru's big hat reminds me of something. I can't quite put my finger on it.
I don't see them, Sanders.
Ah, yes. Anyway, while looking for people and tribes to trade with, the two come across Edith Trent. Edith is an old friend of Trader's who's searching for her daughter, who was taken by natives when the daughter was just a baby. After Edith is found dead, Trader and Peru set out to find her daughter. They find her, but she's completely assimilated into an African tribe, worshipping her as a goddess. Trader and Peru need to find a way to survive the violent tribe and get out of Africa with the young woman Nina, played by Edwina Booth. After hearing me rage on the front page, I bet you were all thinking that would be the worst movie we'd be covering today. If only. Okay, let's be fair. I don't hate Trader Horn. The front page left me angry, Trader Horn left me indifferent. This is a 1930 movie set and mostly filmed in Africa. There's obviously racism throughout. How quickly does it start? Let's see. Well, we had a good 12 seconds there. Let's take a look at some other notably racist moments.
Queer shapes of death and cannibals.
Corn, you're mistaken about these people. They're not savages. They're just happy, ignorant children.
We must get her up a little more respectable looking. Hey, one of you monkeys, bring a blanket.
There are far more racist films out there worth of a nation, but the racism here certainly hampers any enjoyment I might have gotten from Trader Horn. So does the animal cruelty. This was the first non-documentary Hollywood film to be shot on location in Africa, and one of the first American movies to be shot almost entirely on location. The animals you see are real, as are the animals being killed. In the interest of good taste, and those sensitive to such images, which includes me, FYI, I won't be showing footage of this senseless killing. I will show the slightly less horrific footage of animals fighting, which was shot in Mexico and not Africa during some reshoots. Some in Mexico, some in the US. This was done in Mexico to avoid American laws concerning the ethical treatment of animals, which would have made it illegal for the filmmakers to starve the animals like they did before letting them loose to attack each other. It was and remains disgusting behavior. An undoubtedly more constant problem is Trader Horn's atrocious pacing. Look, I get it. This film would have been the first time most 1931 cinemagoers had to see footage of African animals in their natural habitat, to see tribes and their customs, and to see the African landscape. It makes sense the film would stop from time to time and explain the area, the animals, and the people. But Trader Horn takes the wrong approach and feels like it gives the stretched and paper-thin plot far less time than the almost documentary-like exposition scenes about Africa.
What are those little fellows? Tommies. Thompson gazelles. Though I don't know why they were named after a fellow like Thompson. But I was the one that showed them to him in the first place. He was one of those fellas that goes around carving his name on trees. Look, old Larry Longdrawers. Taken all together, he's a spectacular sort of beast. Look at that bird. Oh, it's a tick bird. He's welcome anywhere that a creature can't reach to scratch himself.
He is beautiful, this giraffe.
Aye, in a comic sort of way. Did you know, lad, that a giraffe can't cry out even in his death moment? No vocal cords.
This makes Trader Horn the dullest Best Picture nominee yet, not helped by the flat, one-dimensional, personality-less characters. Trader Horn is Mr. Exposition, Peru is always wrong, and Nina is... I don't know, but it's embarrassing and probably racist. I seriously didn't care about the main characters at any point. I enjoyed the look at Africa in the early 30s, but that's it. Please steer far away from this one. This was a mixed year to be sure. 2 good films and 2 horrendous ones. And to my great surprise, and perhaps yours, my favorite turned out to be Skippy for its soothing qualities and its unique look at childhood and its complications. But the winner this year didn't go small. Instead it went big and tackled significant social issues. Check out my review of the first Western to win Best Picture, Cimarron.
My text is from Proverbs. A lion is in the way, there's a lion in the streets. Friends, there's a lion in the streets of Osage. I have gone about seeking information of this lion. I might say this jackal or dirty skunk, if it wouldn't be sacrilegious. But this jackal in a lion's skin, who by threatening sudden death has held this little town abjectly terrorized. I will tell you all now the name of that...
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed all that. Please let me know what you thought about the review and the movie in the comments below. If you liked the episode, please hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. A link to my film blog can be found in the description below, and you can also find me on Twitter at CinemaPackRat.